I want a new style bow shuriken. This piece of steel, look at that piece of steel. It's just, we're gonna cut them at 5 inches. I'll get them annealed quickly and then we'll just start hammering away. So that said, let's get started. I've been enjoying working with this steel. So far, I have made 3 sets of sai with it and a pair of Wolverine claws, and I think I did one of the kunai, but I can't really be certain of that one. And now I'm going to make 4 pair of the Ryobarigata Shuriken, or double-ended Shuriken. And when these are all cut out, I'm going to bring them into the forge. So they've spent a lot of years working hard doing whatever they did for that piece of farm equipment. So by putting them into the forge and heating them up to a yellow heat, that's going to relax them and take a lot of that stress over all those years away, which is good for the steel, but really it's more about me. How selfish. But it makes working them so much easier and so much faster. This little piece of wood that I'm slowly shaving away, and I've been shaving away for, I think, all this year. It used to be a window filter for me, but I moved and no longer needed it. But I couldn't get rid of the wood, so I've just slowly been burning it in the forge. And that's the first piece of like 6. I like it. It's an inexpensive hobby for the most part, except the charcoal. The charcoal will keep you busy, if only just chopping it up into little pieces. So by lighting a little piece of that pine, I will ignite the rest of that pine, which will slowly heat up that charcoal. And once it's at the right temperature, I'll just dump a bunch more charcoal on top of it and just let it sit on its own. And by doing that, it'll reach temperatures to melt steel within about 5 minutes. Mind you, that 5 minutes feels like an eternity. When you're impatient, you want to get it working. It does help how pretty charcoal is, though. And waiting long enough, that is up to temperature and I can begin. The steel's already been annealed, so I can get right to forging. This is a 5-inch block of steel, so I've marked it roughly with the hammer and the anvil itself to just stay on that one side, that 2.5 inches, and just slowly taper it down. Mind you, with the heat of this steel, slowly isn't so much of an issue. It moves really nicely, as long as I anneal it, which I did. So moving on, I've got to be really careful to always be working down that piece of steel so I get that even shaping. Mind you, I can always fix it later with the file, but it's nice if I can get as much as the shape with the hammer and that my laziness doesn't have to fix the rest of it with the file. And the longer I hit it, the longer it keeps getting heated, the thinner it becomes, the easier it works. And the easier it works makes it more hopeful to work through the next 3 of them. I believe this is the last of the rough forging for the first side. These little diamonds take a bit of work, but that's a nice extension. That's great steel. Okay, starting over, exactly the same, but just on the other side. I'm trying to separate the work as best as I can. So I've saved the water process right to the end, and now I'm just going to clean the surface of it off. This makes filing just a breeze. It makes it so much more even. It's so pretty, and it sends like liquid slag everywhere. It's wonderful. Now on to the difficult bit. Getting it to the rough shape, but now getting the 2 points lined up and as much of that geometry finished so the file doesn't have to do that work. A little before and after. So that's where it started as an old piece of farm equipment. And its new life. So now I want these to make a thud when they go into the wall, but they have to have perfect balance. They're not going to be perfect, but I got to get it as close as I possibly can. So that center, I'd like it to remain at the current 5/8 of an inch, but that's not going to happen. So let's just say it goes down to 9/16 of an inch, or probably a little bit less. But that center mass on how it's distributed to both points is like of so important right now that it will spin properly and they all have roughly the same weight. I like this process. I get to do this inside where it's a lot cleaner than the shop. It's perfect. Look at that. Heat treating the Shuriken, I need to come up with a name for it. It's a double-sided and it's much larger, but heat treating this, it's going to be abused. No matter what, this is going to be, I'm gonna miss with it, it's gonna bounce off of things, it's gonna have to deal with the impact, and in the cases where, as it's traveling, it's not right, it's gonna smash. All that, oh, and it doesn't need to cut, it just needs to stab. So this heat treat will be done. It's still got to be brought up to like a non-magnetic, but today it's going to be quenched in cooking oil. It does make the shop smell really great. The benefit of that is the shrinking, the compressing of the structure. It's just like fractionally slower being in the oil. And afterwards, I'm gonna put this in the oven and probably hold it. I'd probably even say like 10 minutes at 400 degrees, which doesn't seem like a tremendous amount, but normally I'll just bring it up for a blade. I'll just bring it up to 400 degrees, quench it. A work knife, bring it up to 400 degrees and let it rest. Lots of abuse, I think, considering this like a hammer. Bring it up to 400 degrees, let it just wash that energy all the way through it, and then just let it sit and cool. I think that'll be the best chance of keeping this as a strong thrower well in one piece. And now time for the magic part. The oil is ready. I've got the windows blacked out. I need to light the fire. But I say the magic part because, well, no, I find it just amazing that you take the piece of steel, you heat it up to just past a non-magnetic temperature, and you quench it fast. That molecular structure strengthens and tightens and becomes harder and denser, and you can sharpen it and you can do more with it just because of a difference of heat. Yeah, I never get sick of that fact. I always find that fact absolutely amazing, and I'm also a bit of a pyro. It may be a little bit heavier to the pyro to begin with, but I feel I've grown. We're way past magnetic, but we're nowhere near, oh, we are actually quite near. We're not near even. The big part of these, what I wanted them, was because there's so much mass in the center compared to the two pointy bits, the sake. But to get it even, you know, you should always move them as much as possible, but that's why I have a really large grill. Bring this way past, and we'll get this even and fully annealed. So we start the fire off hot. It's actually not even that hot. That's the best word for it. We start get it yellow. Get it even, and then bring the fire down and keep that moving to get that bright, it's not a bright cherry, it's a dark cherry with a little shadow. which I can say all in good information, but to share I cannot because this lens is only so capable. That's nice and even. So the steel is now relaxed. I brought it up to its full temp. It's a gorgeous color. But it's too hot. Yes. Look at that. I think it's almost said the forge is off, but it's just a tiny bit of air. Oh, it's perfect. Now I just need it even. Sorry, I'm not showing it to you. Yes, no flame point. Great little bubbles. I didn't touch the bottom. We're dropping the forge back down to just like a nice orange glow. And now I have to be patient again. Patience is something I need to practice every day. It's more difficult than like basic strikes. What the hell am I doing here? I should get back to work. Not that it's supposed to be dramatic. It really shouldn't be dramatic. You're dealing with hot oil and a really hot piece of steel. But I do enjoy the flames. As these will be abused, I want a good temper put on them, and I want to make sure that it's an even wash. So using the oven is just, well, it's just a no-brainer. Set the temperature with the desired time and keep checking on it. It's the keep checking on it part that's really important, that the oven is meant to cook probably food. I don't know. I use it for steel. That's what ovens are used for, right? Well, moving on. Now it's the last of the heavy removal. The 3/16 of an inch needs to be right down to 0. I want them really sharp and to take all the original scale off of it. So I need to spend a fair amount of time on this machine, and then I get to go inside and start working on the polishing stones, which are, well, in my part, I have a lot more fun with the finishing stones. The rough polishing, we'll say, is finished. There, how am I going to hold these? I love them. I've got so many questions, and they're not even done polishing yet. I need to go to 1,000 and then to 2,000 with, I guess I've been working on them for a while, and kind of the question being, the questioning, that when it's super polished, it's less likely to rust. With a little bit of oil and care, they'll stay clean for a long period of time. But if you have a tool that was just heat treated and nothing happened afterwards, you get a lot more pits and grooves. Something like that rusts quite well, but it's much quicker to manufacture. So something of this, why am I going to 2,000 grit? There's just no reason to, other than how smooth it's going to feel, and I think make it much more difficult to throw, but much more needle-like. This is samurai, just because it's expensive. I go to the Shuriken. There was some Shuriken made by actual sword masters. swordsmiths, and they were stunning. High polish, humming on the edge. And then there's like the Ninja Shuriken, which is just, we're lucky, high carbon steel, but super thin and does the job. What are you trying to do? For some reason, I'm trying to make this like really, really needle-like. So I really have to quit playing and actually start polishing these now. I keep it over there. I begin the polish with a 200 grit stone. I work that until, again, all the scratches are gone. And then this is a 1000 grit stone, which is kind of a big jump, but that's what it is. And then I go to a 2000 grit stone afterwards. It's worth it. It's a nice polish, but I feel at this point, it's kind of an insane amount of work to put on something that I'll potentially throw away, but I want them not to rust. But really, at this point, it's practice, so I should just shut up and get back to work. And that truing stone that I just used keeps all of those stones flat, so I get an even surface area. All the edges of the actual throwing blade are quote-unquote sharp, and it means that when it comes to the end of the shuriken, I can get a really fine point. I really like these stones. They do a great job. And I now have a 2000 grit. It's my new favorite stone. I didn't know I needed a 2000 grit stone, or at least that type of 2000 grit. I'm not saying this is a fail, but this is not what I started out making. I was making a double-ended shuriken to replace my batarang. My batarang are the nicest thing that I have to throw, and they're double-ended. Wanted something a little bit more authentic, something that had more weight. But now that I'm at the polishing stage of it, I don't want to throw these. I want them just to be hand-to-hand tools. They need to be nothing more than this. Vajra, lightning bolts. I know them from the practice of meditation. The monks would carry tools similar to this. Much nicer than this. The handles would be quite ornate, and it's a very specific pattern. If you look at the old ken, the representative of an old sword, its handle would be the same handle, and it had either 2 single spears going each side or 3 going, and that the 3 would look more like a claw. A thunderbolt, something that you would receive energy by going out on a limb, the quotes, that when practicing Zen Buddhism, that there's that shared enlightenment. Your master may decide to have a spirit to shout at you, not to just get your attention, but to like force an enlightenment about receiving that energy. Okay, I have a lot more research to do on what this specific tool, like mindset was, but for just as a receiving tool, I know this guy, we will do a fighting video on this one, and I'm still supposed to be finishing this one, but I've been finishing this one for, I'm just complaining over little things. It's roughly a single movie. There's nothing to complain about. In one movie, I can get this from regular polish to finished polish, but I'm still not done yet, and I'm imagining the idea of just being able to receive attacks, not necessarily that you would have to attack, and of course that's when the throwing would be of great advantage, that there's a lot of weight with these little things, but I don't want to throw them. I don't want to throw them. I want to hold on to them. I think as a meditation tool they're of much more interest, but as a fighting tool, how am I going to carry them? I'm thinking leather, but first I need to finish polishing them. And with that done, I can go into oiling them. Now I use a mineral oil as the carrier oil, and I put in a clove oil, a choji, that it's an antiseptic, and it's got quite the scent if you're attached to Japanese swords. This is going to stop them from stop them from rusting. I think I've lost my mind. But I'm beyond happy with how these have turned out, so I'm all right with it. I'll just move on and deal with what I've got. this is the next set of claws. That type of spike. It's clean and it's an elegant line, like close range, just past like finger reach, and have those spike down. Just sheerly a ripping tool. But with that, I'm thinking 3. These are just dried. I have just finished these. Three or 4. Ooh, I like 4. Just close. There-ish. Little rivets to hold them in place. These are great. Still don't know how I'm going to display them, but I do have an idea of how I'm going to carry them. Though I still haven't done the carrying bag for the Tetsubishi yet. But that I have an idea for as well. So I need to make a stand, but I need to make another stand first. That has nothing to do with this, but everything to do with the armor. So I'm gonna just get this done later. And as I put this job off until later, doing the other job, I found these stands, so I didn't actually have to make them. So in essence, my laziness saved me time. Oh, I don't think that's the lesson I should take from this. Well, moving on. They work well, and they hold the Shuriken perfectly. So one last thing to do, and yeah, I'm done and ready to move on to the next project. That's the sound it should make. I love this steel.